Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Playbook with Paul LaPolice. We're going to try to do a live show. I don't know how many people are watching, but this is something we've been trying to bang around, figure out if we could figure out how to do one of these. And this is basically we're going to talk about the two playoff games. We're going to play some video. I'm going to kind of go through the stats package, kind of some of the things I would see on a weekly basis and go through. Please, in the chat, send me a note if you're watching and ask me a question you got for the game as we go through. So let's start out with a couple of things. I'm going to move to the studio setting here and go through a couple of things. I got my Haddonfield High School shirt for Michael Myers for y'all Halloween. Haddonfield High School track and field, run like your life depends on it for the Halloween fans. So, two good games this weekend. We're going to start with the Riders, BC Lions. What's going on with those two teams? Talented football teams. Both. The Riders going back to the playoffs. BC Lions kind of disappointed they didn't get the home playoff games. But we're going to go and take a look at a couple of things that just come up from the stats package and everything. All right, so here is what I would call my preparation for a football game. So I'm going to start basically over here on the left-hand side, what I've got highlighted right here. So this is the offensive stats and the defensive stats for both teams. So, I go through this each week just so I can kind of get a good feel for understanding what people do well on top of watching film. So offensively, stats, if I put it red, there's something to think about. So giveaways, for Saskatchewan Roughrider fans, you've got the least amount of giveaways in the Canadian Football League. That's a good thing. What is a giveaway? You fumble the ball. You turn the ball over. You turn the ball over on third down or throw an interception. So 22 on the season, first in the Canadian Football League. That's spectacular. Now, for the BC Lions, what stats are interesting? I highlighted giveaways. They've got 7th most giveaways in the Canadian Football League. That's going to be a huge issue, obviously, for this football game. A couple other points for BC's offense: 65% completion percentage, one of the worst in the league, surprisingly. Rushing, explosive plays. They don't have a lot of big plays rushing. Only 5 big plays rushing. Passing, they're second in the CFL in big plays, but not really anything big there. All right, let's look over here at this panel. Defensive stats. Anything comes out, the biggest thing that's going to happen in this football game is right here. Takeaways. First in the Canadian Football League for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, led by Roland Milligan. Takeaways and tied for first in interceptions with 24. Other stats interesting. There's some good things, some bad things, but this is where the game's going to be won. They got to make sure they protect the football. BC, kind of middle of the pack on a lot of things. Where do they excel? They are second in the Canadian Football League in sacking the quarterback. And I got an interesting point I can talk about, like here in the notes. Okay, so one thing, they went out and got William Stanback. They are a team that really runs the football on second and short better than every team in the CFL. Why is that interesting? Last year, or talking to their coaches, they struggled on second and 1 to 3 last year. With short yardage situation, they'd rather be in almost second and meter or long. They've got a guy who when you need short yardage, he's really turned it around for them being first. Okay, what happened in the last game? I'm going to push this over here. So there's, in these two games here, let's start with this game on the left, BC 35, SAS 20. What's the biggest stat in here? 4 giveaways, -2 turnover margin for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and they were sacked 4 times. So, you're not going to win the game turning the ball over. All right, SAS rushed for 86. They passed for 278, not bad. But what stuck out for me was BC passed for 450 yards in that game. On second down, they had 341 yards. So they were able to convert on second down. 1 TD, 2 interceptions, couple giveaways, but they won the turnover margin at +2. You're going to win the game when you win the turnover margin. Field goals, 7 for 7 for Sean White, was spectacular. Vernon Adams was spectacular. William Stanback did not get a lot of rushing yards. You can see right there. Sam Emilus was spectacular for Sask in that game, and Justin McInnis was spectacular for the BC Lions with 243 yards in that game. Okay, and the second time when Sask blew him up just a couple weeks ago over here in this column, what did I take out of the stats? Sask offense, they were had spectacular on first down. They passed very well. Trevor Harris, 76% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, and big 0 giveaways. That's why you win football games. 6 for 6 for field goals. We'll get into that in a second. BC offensively, decent stats, but 0 touchdowns, 0 TDs, 2 interceptions with Nathan Rourke, 6 giveaways. You cannot turn the ball over 6 times and ever expect to win a football game. Trevor Harris had a great game. 2 TDs, no interceptions, 25 of 30, 271, 83%. Nathan Rourke, 0 touchdowns, interceptions. Sam Emilus, big yardage. Justin McInnis, big yardage. Okay, so what's a couple of points we want to make? And I go over here, keys to the game for each team. So this is what we're going to talk about. For Saskatchewan, the keys to the game. Start there. Turnover margin is going to be number one. That's going to be the most important thing that's got to happen. Sask first, I just talked about, Saskatchewan doesn't turn the ball over. Well, they're first in takeaways also. So Saskatchewan is going to protect the ball and they're going to take it away. That's why they're plus 25 turnover margin. So, if they win the turnover margin, they're going to win. That's bottom line. And that's what they've done all year. They've been okay on offense, but they get short fields in that. So BC, with their 7th in giveaways, and they don't take the ball away a lot. They're 6 in takeaways. That's put them at -6 in the Canadian Football League, 7th in the CFL. And they averaged 4 in their 2 games against Riders earlier in the year. So that's the key. That's the number one stat. That's what's going to happen for them to win this football game. Now, BC averages 4 giveaways, 2 games. I just talked about that. So the best story for me in the Saskatchewan game is this. Brett Lowther. You can kind of see there in the notes. He had the worst field goal percentage in the Canadian Football League after 11 weeks. He was last. But in his last 8 games since that, he's gone 28 of 29 for a 97% field goal percentage, best in the Canadian Football League. He's hit 5 of 6 from 50 plus. His only miss was, I believe, on Labor Day on a 60-yard field goal. So he has really responded. Because if you look at the stats, it says Sask got the worst kicking game in the league. Yes, they do from the whole season, but he has really responded since, we had the 4 missed field goals early in week 11. So, they're ranked 7th in the CFL. Sean White's sitting there at 94. You would go, hey, there's a big mismatch here for field goals. But I'll tell you, not if you look at what he's done in the second half of the season. So that's a really interesting story for me. Couple of keys to the game for BC. Vernon's got to use his legs to make the zone coverage break down. And like if he can do that, Sask plays a lot of zone, and he can move around in the pocket. He's going to be able to make some throws. I don't think they're going to run the football. 2.5 yard average in 2 games. That's not going to cut it. And the best story for me of the BC Lions is Justin McInnis in 2 games has got 362 yards, 150 plus a game. So you better have an answer for him. There better be some game plan for the BC Lions on how they're going to stop him. And you'll see I'm going to do a coach's playbook and talk about a couple of those things. So there's some big stats on that. I want to show you a couple of things here. I'm going to move this. Give me a second. And move you over to here. Okay, so this is some of the stats we get sometimes in our stat packages. The previous stuff is my own stuff, so this is some of the other information. Trevor Harris, these are the key players on offense. Obviously, Trevor making good decisions with the football and getting those high percentage passes. A.J. Ouellette, he's averaged about 70 yards rushing in these 2 games. When he plays, can he continue to help them run the football? They haven't run the football great all season. Schaefer Baker, another outstanding player out of this unit. On defense, key players. These guys have been key players for this season. Marcus Sales has been a nice pickup for this football team when they were able to sign him from the BC Lions. Carney's been a nice pickup for them also, bringing him over. And Roland Milligan, obviously, has been spectacular all season as a finalist for the most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League. The offensive line went through a lot of injuries this season, had a lot of guys banged up, and they were able to, I think, overcome that. Now, what helps them? The ability of Trevor Harris get the ball out of his hands, and just the ability for them to throw a lot of quick game. That's what Trevor throws a lot of quick game, and he gets the ball out of his hand quickly. They signed Trevon Tate later in the year from Calgary. It was a good add at right tackle for them. And Logan Furlance had a really good season this year. BC Lions, some stats. There's Coach Campbell and some of his stats. So key players on offense. These are pretty easy names for everybody to have an understanding. Vernon Adams returns. Just the ability to see pictures and throw the ball quickly. I get he can run, he can scramble, all that stuff, but that's not like he sees pictures, man, and he throws the ball quickly and on time. He's been spectacular. William Stanbeck, I really don't see against the top rushing defense, which is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, is 1 or 2 all season long in stopping the run. They've been in the top 2 all season long, if not first or down to second. So please, try to run the football, but I don't know if they're going to. If they can't, that's probably not going to happen. Justin McInnes, like I said, they have to find Vernon Adams finds him always and throws to him. So Saskatchewan maybe double team him, plays man on him and zone around everything else. Do something to take away his number 1 read. And Keon Hatcher, another outstanding football player. Hey, if you're watching, give me a note in the Dean Poyer sent me something, a Winnipeg guy. 43 explosive plays, most in the CFL. Justin McInnes, you're 5 times more likely to score a touchdown when you have an explosive play. And key players on defense. Gary Peters is a really good shutdown corner. Ciante Evans done a nice job too as they signed him over from BC. Tahama has been able to get a pass rush this year, and Covington's filled in a role. BC's O-line, anchored by my man Michael Couture, is somebody I coached in Winnipeg. Woodruff, Broxton, Chung, Perkins, they're going to have their hands full trying to run the football against this really talented defensive line of the Riders. Okay, so I'm not going to get into some of this stuff. I don't know if that's true. So just interesting. Cover 3 variations. They do play a lot of zone coverage in Saskatchewan. You'll see a lot of zone coverage for them. The early season, Vernon, if you remember, his ability to I thought when he came back, the deep ball throws were going to be there a lot more, and they have shown up. Passing grade, big time throw grade. McInnes, some of the routes he's done the most of. And okay, we'll clear out of that one. Let us now do this. We're going to watch a couple clips. Okay, so let me know if you're watching. Let me know what you want to hear, if you got any questions. Okay, so here is a couple of plays from the 2 games played. So this is the first game early in the season. So for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, this is real important for them. What they have to have is an understanding of Vernon's abilities. Is our job is not to sack the quarterback. Our job is just to get him down. So you see pressure off the edge here. They lose it and then make a huge play here. That's the stuff you have to make sure. I'm not going for a kill shot. And you can see right here, he just sits down and just avoids. And now this is not really a kill shot, but you just got to be under control. He escapes to his left, finds a throw downfield. Those are the things that's going to drive you crazy as a defensive coordinator for Corey and his defense when that happens. So a couple other angles of it. Let's move to the next one. So you can watch this here. Okay, run game. So this is that first game of the year, trying to get the run game going. They're running what is called an outside zone play. Everyone is reaching, trying to get the outside armpit of people and going to these spaces, and he's trying to cut off. And the back is reading number 1 to number 2. Number 1 stays outside, and number 2 goes outside. He's now going to hump it up in there, but just kind of watch what happens. Okay, Micah Johnson just throws, I think that's Suk Chung, throws him off, throws him out of the way, and makes the play. The tackle ends up going a little bit far, so he can't get back to Avery. And also the rush end beats the left tackle. So this is what the Riders are good at. They can stop the run. So don't expect the BC Lions to try to run the football a ton. Put the ball in Vernon's hands and that talented receiving core. All right, this is key for the Riders. Can the Riders do this? A zone player, a zone player, a zone player here. And again, if you got any questions, throw a question into the chat and I'll try to answer the question. With everybody playing zone, can we rush 4 people? If we rush 4 people, can we get home? And this happens here. So this is what is called the slide protection, where those two have those two. He's big on big. He's big on big. I would call that Gilligan. Why? Because they're both on islands. And he's got him. Now, what that means is he should be able to help on Micah. But if you watch right here, the left tackle, with him going that wide, I would be fitting in right there to help Michael. Because you see the left tackle just doesn't end up, he just doesn't end up helping anyone. And Micah beats the center and pushes him out of the way and is able to get in there and make that play. Right? Get some younger offensive linemen in there. But if the Riders can get a pass rush with 4 guys, they're doing well. All right, and here's another picture. This is what I think Vernon will bring. I pulled this clip just to show, okay, you've got some type of low player, collision, but then watch. Everyone's just kind of looking at Vernon, playing zones. You've got 3 people deep and a bunch of underneath players. Okay, all these players are underneath. But now Vernon says, all right, the protection's breaking down. I'm going to climb the pocket looking for a throw. All right, and right here he throws it when he scrambles and people come open. Zones break down when quarterbacks can scramble. So his ability to scramble there is crucial for a team that plays a ton of zone coverage. He feels this, jumps out of the way, starts to move. Now, sooner or later, the zone protection will break down. He gets the throw. So really spectacular play there. I've been saying spectacular a lot lately. I'm not sure why, but it's just been there. All right, let's go to this. 3x2 set. Cannot happen, right? Interception here. Okay, you see this by Milligan. I just think he's late with this throw. Milligan's over the top of it. That just threw it behind a little bit, and the receiver falls out of this, but it's got to be right to the sideline. I'm not sure what happens here that spooks him a little bit. Okay, but doesn't help that Brown's running in here trying to get a shot on him. But roll Milligan. You got to know what he's doing. Got to be around him. Got to have an understanding. All right, here's the 6th play. And again, when you play zone coverage, we have 4 people over here. We have 1 person over here as receivers. A zone player, a zone player, a zone player, a zone player, an underneath zone, underneath zone, underneath zone players. Okay, fine. He's covering the corner out. He's inside the corner out. He's sitting on the hitch. He's sitting on the hitch. He's over the top of this one. He's man-to-man on the back. So this is what you have to handle with Vernon. And if he does this 3 times and gets first downs, that's huge. Huge to quiet the crowd down in Ryderville. So you've got to have an answer for him on that. Okay, so this is some of the BC Lions stuff. Let's take a look at the Riders. That was the BC Lions defense. Let's look at the BC Lions versus the Riders from a couple of weeks ago. So here is Trevor Harris. So best thing Trevor Harris does is recognize coverage. Pause it right here. That guy's running vertical. These people are all going deep. You notice how deep these two players are and basically how far inside Hladik is to the player working to the flat. So you have a vertical, a dig, and a guy in the flat. But if everybody's deep and everybody's inside covering the dig, there's nobody on the flat throw. Trevor sees that immediately, and on 1st and 10, that's a 10-yard gain. Trevor will kill you if you just hit these, him these easy checkdowns and let him see the picture. And you see how quickly he makes this decision, just throws it out into the flat, right? Once he does that, allows, I think that Schaefer, it was a Schaefer Baker who were able to run with that. I don't know who that was. Okay, Emulus, I think. Okay, second one. Once again, this is a concept a lot of teams run. A dig, 5-yard in or 8-yard in. And just understanding that when the ball snapped, Trevor, I see him watching over here. He sees TJ Lee here. So basically you have 3 people over 2, but he sees that TJ Lee blitzes. Once TJ Lee blitzes and Ben Hladik goes inside on this dig and that player's that high, Trevor understands this is a read. Number 1 is covered. Number 2 is wide open. Look how quickly he gets this ball out. And again, this is a 5-yard throw on 1st and 10. But what does it get? A first down on first down. So the underneath throws, BC's got to contest these a little bit better this game because this is what Trevor did all game 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. Okay, so when we look over here, 4x1 set. 4x1 means there's 4 people here and 1 here. You always call the wide side first. There's 4, there's 1. Okay, 4x1. A lot of teams don't like playing man to this, so they'll play zone. And how do you know it's zone? Because this guy's on the back tracks. So he's a high player, he's a high player, he's over here in zone, he's here. So they basically don't have enough low players here. And they say, oh, we'll rally up and make the plays. Now the other thing, TJ Lee, if you see right here, he's blitzing. So they leave themselves short because of the blitz. Now, this is a run play. This is a tight zone run that has an RPO built into it. So this screen is if Trevor wants to throw it because of numbers, but it's definitely if TJ Lee blitzes, we don't have an answer for it. So you're going to throw it. And that's what happens. If you talk numbers, you have 2 people to block 1 and 1-on-1. That's a win for the offense if you locate the ball. And there you go. Nice throw on the outside. Once again, another first down on a short throw by Trevor. You'll see in the left of the screen, here comes the pressure. Get the ball out on the perimeter. Emulus can go. First down. Okay. BC tried a number of things here. They're playing man coverage, okay? Trying to hit the quarterback. So they're rushing 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes 5. Here comes 6. So when you count them up, as you count all these numbers up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys coming. You have 6 protectors in the backfield. So everybody's man to man in the protection. Now they're also playing man coverage here. It's a very simple concept with a go, and a guy breaking out. TJ Lee's inside leverage. Just throw it to a spot on the outside. Doesn't get easier for that. Trevor's done that 1,000 times in his sleep. So a nice easy throw out there to Jareth Stearns. Good protection here. Okay. I see AJ Ouellette. He ends up taking him. AJ Ouellette takes that one. That's the 6-on-6. He's got him, he's got him, he's got him, he's got him, he's got him. Now, this is going to break down because nobody can help each other. Nobody can help anybody. But Trevor throws it out quickly, gets his Stearns. Tough position to play TJ Lee, the Sam linebacker or nickel linebacker, is in a tough bind playing man coverage on the inside. Another man coverage rep. This is one of the few explosive plays Trevor hit. Didn't hit a lot of them in the game, but this is one of the crucial plays he did. It's a corner route with 2 hitches. He sees TJ Lee inside position. No chance for the safety to make a play. Throws it on the outside. So nice explosive play. And once again, the pickup was excellent by the offensive line. You can see the offensive line feels the pressure. They are sliding 3 people for those 3 people. Okay, he's going to take this one. He's going to take that one. And AJ is going to take that one. Perfect. Good timing. Great throw. Great catch by Sam Amulis. And if you cut here, here's a couple more. All right, this is a touchdown at the end of the game. This is my favorite touchdown of the game. So let's look what they're trying to do here. So this is a double move down at the goal line. Teams play a lot of man coverage down here. He's man-to-man, he's man-to-man, he's man-to-man. Here's your one safety, and here it's man-to-man. For those who've seen my cover 1 talk, this is called cover 1. Why? It's man coverage with one safety. There's one person to help. But what do? They have Sam Amulis run right into the safety to cancel 2. They run him low. Why? To keep Gary Peters low. And I believe this was Stearns. Yes, this was Garrett Stearns' touchdown. He's going to run it out. And usually when outs happen like this, watch TJ Lee. He's going to try to bait it, and he's going to jump it. And then Stearns basically does what's called the double move. And you got all that space. Trevor's just got to spot the ball. So nice throw. This is one of my favorite calls of the game. I thought they did that really well. Trevor knows this. I got man coverage. I'm just going to take my drop, get ready, throw it to a spot. Let Stearns make the play. So pretty spectacular stuff right there. Okay, let me go back to studio, see what's going on here. Okay. All right, somebody can ask me a question or two before I go on to East, but I am going to talk a little bit more of kind of my thoughts going into this game. Let's go to this angle. Let's go over here. Okay, so a couple of points. As I said before, I'm going to talk about a couple of things on the weekend, but for the BC Lions, what's going to happen with Justin McInnes? Sass got to have an answer for him. He's got 151 yards in 2 games. That's what he averages. He's got, you have to have an answer for him. So that's one big thing I'm looking for. Number 2, turnover margin, 4 giveaways in 2 games. So BC can't turn it over 4 times. They're going to lose if they do. They've done it twice. And again, they're facing a team that doesn't turn it over and gets takeaways. Now, I talked about the kicking situation. We know Sean White, how great he's been all season, and he has been spectacular, tremendous. But Brett Lawther, if you look at the stats, he's got the worst kicking in Canadian Football League. But I went deeper, and I looked at this. He was 7th in the CFL with 81%. Not so fast. In the bizarre world of the CFL, the last 8 games, he's been best in the Canadian Football League. 28 of 29, 5 of 6 from 50 plus. His only miss is that 60-yarder in the I think the Labor Day Classic. So that's what I really think is important for Saskatchewan offensively. Can they run the football? Can they do some of the things they need to do to run the football? And just make sure Trevor's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. You know that. So if he does, right, it should be a decent game for him. If I think you got to see the BC Lions do something to disrupt him, whether that's putting people at the line of vision and putting people up at the line of scrimmage. So those are a couple of thoughts on that first game. One other point I would say is crowd noise. So what that means is for the BC Lions, and this is something that was great for them to have a bye week, is when you have a bye week, you get extra reps of practice. Crowd noise, when you go to Saskatchewan, motion's harder, cadence is harder. The offensive line can't hear the calls because of the crowd. There's two things you can do. Number one is Number one is score early and often, and then the crowd shuts up. But if that's hard, you're gonna have to have what's called the silent cadence, where the center, the guard looks back, the center is getting ready. He makes all his calls. The guard's looking. When the quarterback's ready to receive the ball, he taps the center. The center puts his head up, moves his hand, and snaps the ball. And the linemen, it's called the silent cadence because there's no cadence. And the linemen just go when they see the hand come up. And that's hard. It's hard from a waggling perspective. It's hard on the offensive line. So that's going to be something they have to overcome. But they had the bye week, so it was great they were able to work on that. So I think that's really good. But any BC Lion guys or Saskatchewan guys, let me know what else you have for questions. And let's go to the other game. So let me start talking some Eastern semifinal stuff. Let me open up our stats page here, and I'll go to my second screen. Okay, now let's go. All right, so let's see what happened last two games. All right, so Ottawa 41, this first game here, this is the stats, 9-7-24. Ottawa had a big win at home. Let's go over a couple of things to remember what happened in that game. So Toronto, in that game, they passed for 463 yards. They had 494 yards of offense. They had 304 on first down. That's a crazy number. 3 TDs. Here's the biggest thing, 4 interceptions. So Chad Kelly threw 4 interceptions. They also turned it over 2 other times. So they had 6 giveaways. That's why they lost the game. And they were sacked 6 times. So things to highlight for Ottawa offensively. 59 yards rushing. They really haven't been able to establish the rush great this season. And they're going to face the number 1 team against the run is Toronto. I believe Sask's number 2. So passing yards, 350, good night. 400 yards, great night for Ottawa. 30 of 40 passing, 439, 75% completion. So great night for Drew Brown. 1 TD, 0 interceptions, why they won the game. They had a fumble on a downs. They weren't sacked once. That's spectacular against that good front. Players, Chad Kelly had 463 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. 2 of them pick sixes. Drew Brown, just said his numbers were really good. Kadeem Carey, he had 5 carries for 9.2 yards. The Red Blacks do a good job stopping the run. They're in the tops of the league. So, maybe Kadeem Carey gets more touches because he did average 9.2. Labron had a couple of good runs. Leading receivers, David Unger, Dominic Grimes for the Red Blacks. Damon Webb, that's the key to the game. 2 interceptions for touchdowns. That's what made the game. We just talked about all that stuff. Second game, Toronto 38, Ottawa 31, just 2 weeks ago, I guess. Toronto rushed for 117, passed for 341, 436 yards, 81% completion, 3 TDs, 0 interceptions. So Chad Kelly didn't throw an interception. The sacks dropped dramatically from 6 to 1. For Ottawa, could only rush for 28 yards, did pass for 300, had 400 yards total offense, 72% completion, but 3 giveaways, 1 fumble, 1 interception, 1 on downs. Sacks allowed 3. Red zone, they were 3 for 4. Chad Kelly was spectacular, 21 of 26, 331. Hit a bunch of deep balls early in the game. This game was out of reach, and Ottawa had to storm back in the fourth quarter. Drew Brown's numbers were really good, but a lot of that came in that fourth quarter. Kadeem Carey, 3.9 yards. Mackay Polk was the leading receiver with 104, and Pimpleton had 114. But the story, Ottawa's -2 turnover margin. Labron, only 2.8 yards per carry. I don't expect Ottawa to try to run the football this weekend. And pass completion is 81% for Toronto that game. So here's my notes. In 2 games, Chad Kelly's got 800 yards, 70% completion, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in one game. Like, that's going to be, they've got to have an answer for him. There's been a bunch of explosives, okay, and Toronto in the red zone, 6 of 9. Ottawa in the red zone, 3 of 6. Ottawa's going to make sure they're good in the red zone. Okay, let's go over here. The big stats on the season. If there's anything that comes up from a season perspective, I'm just going to say this. Red zone TD. The only one I read it over here is red zone TDs. Ottawa's last in the Canadian Football League. When they get down there, they got to finish with 7s. Toronto leads the CFL in scoring. They've got to make sure they can get some touchdowns. So Toronto's 4th in the red zone, and Ottawa's, that's going to be an important thing. 30-plus completions. This is an interesting stat. Toronto's 8th in the CFL with 19. I bet Chad Kelly has 15 of those. So he's been spectacular since he returned. Defensive stats, 30-plus completions. Ottawa, that's what I'm watching. They're 7th in the CFL. They were last in last year. They've gotten much better this year. But Chad Kelly likes to go deep. Rushing yards, Toronto, 1st in the CFL. They're going to stop it, right? Net offense, 2nd in the CFL. Sacks made, 1st in the CFL. They have a talented front. Turnover margin, big one. -14 for the Red Blacks, +2 for the Toronto Argonauts. So they've got to have an answer. So a couple of keys to the game for Ottawa. Go to these. Here are my 3 keys. Red zone offense and defense for Ottawa. So I just talked about it. Like the Red Blacks have struggled in the red zone. They've got to get 7s because Toronto's 1st in points scored. They're going to be down there, and they're going to make their plays if they get down there. Pass defense for Ottawa versus Chad Kelly. Bottom line. That's to me, the whole ball of wax is, can this secondary handle Chad Kelly? And it's not only a secondary. Can the pass rush can they rush 4 people, play zone, not give up those big explosive plays, and get to the quarterback? So that's the key, because Chad's got 400 yards passing in these games. He's got 6 touchdowns. He's got 70% completion. They've got to slow him down. And then first down productivity for Ottawa. On offense, can they be productive on first down when they're a team that is going to have a hard time running the football against this really talented defense? So how do you keep the sack-happy defense off and at bay? In the turnover margin. Keys to the game for Toronto: protect the quarterback, let Chad throw the football. So, if Ottawa comes out, plays a lot of zone like they've done early in the season, they did try to pressure him last game, but they got hit for a couple of deep balls when they pressured. Well, can the offensive line protect him and let him make his plays? So, short yardage offense. This is a weird thing for the Toronto Argonauts. They are the worst team in the Canadian Football League on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Been stopped at the goal line a bunch of times. They're only 61% on a 3rd and short, which is by far the worst in the CFL. There's not a team under 70, and they're at 69. And don't forget what happened last week. The Ottawa Red Blacks had a goal line stand, 3 straight stops at the 1, and I know that's happened earlier in the season too. So that's one thing. They got to be good at their short yardage. And I think if they win the turnover margin, they win the football game. They've done a good job putting points on the board. They've done a good job of winning the turnover margin, and Ottawa's, at -14. So, the return of the deep ball. Chad Kelly has probably most of their deep balls. They couldn't even complete. They didn't try even to throw it deep there earlier. And, those are some of the things I kind of saw from a coach's playbook standpoint. Let's go to the PFF stuff. Let's see what this stuff is. PFF. Okay. All right, Chad Kelly. 3rd highest passes yards per average. He likes to put the ball downfield. He's going to throw the ball deep. Kadeem Carey. This kid breaks a lot of tackles is kind of the point they're saying here. Deontay McMahon's been a good changeup for them. God, he's quick and explosive. He's got a good I just like his lower body balance. And DeMonte Coxey, just woof, big target. Somebody can spot the ball too. He's impressive. He's fun to watch. The O-line, or D-line, Brakeman, Seresma, Flo, and those 3 guys have been spectacular. Hats off to the Toronto Argonauts to be able to lose a bunch of veteran defensive linemen last year and then just hey, just roll the dice with the next crew of guys. So this group is really talented. They make a lot of plays. Wynton McManus, probably the best linebacker in the Canadian Football League. This offensive line's done a nice job all season. And Peter Nicastro has done a nice job playing center. Ryan Hunter's been impressive all season. And Cage has been done a really good job at tackle, I thought. And Trevon Tate also. Drew Brown, Labrum, Hardy, Pimpleton. Key players, obviously Drew Brown, the game he won, protect the football through 400 yards. He does like push the ball downfield. Laybourne needs to get 5.4 yards a carry, but I expect them not to run the ball a lot. Justin Hardy, just a really good professional. I spent half a season with him. I loved him. And Khalil Pimpleton will be that explosive player that the Red Blacks need. Defensively, Lorenzo Mold and Bryce Carter, two underrated players, right? They do a lot of really good things. Lorenzo Malden, like in a year where nobody has 10, 12, 15 sacks, Lorenzo Malden has been really close to being right to the top unit. Bryce Carter's coming back from some injuries. Lamont's been a good player for them this season in the secondary. And obviously Damon Webb, we know, 2 interceptions for touchdowns the first time they played Toronto. Jacob Ruby, Drew Delorier, Starzawa, Bladick, Pelios. So, playing a lot of Canadians, obviously you can see 5 Canadians across the board. Zach Pelios is somebody that I was part of the draft process with and wanted to draft. I love this kid. I thought he was going to be a good offensive tackle. I think he's getting better the more reps he gets. Had him in at guard the first year, and he just, not his natural position, but this is, I'm impressed at what I see him on film. This crew it's going to be important that they do things to help this crew, because not because they're not talented, it's because they're facing a very good defensive group. Obviously Chad Kelly, the big thing coming for him is, last year in his playoff game last season, he turned the ball over too much. Some others. Short yardage, but they struggle very much. Third down. Yeah, so here's just some other stats on these guys. You can go a lot of quarter coverage. I don't know if I call this quarters. They play more what's called match coverage for some of their coverage stuff. So let's go back to the studio, or let's go full screen and talk about a couple of things. So, what I think is real important in the Eastern semifinal is the biggest thing is Ottawa, got to go into Toronto and figure out, hey, what can I do to make sure that we help ourselves by not giving up an explosive play? You're 5 times more likely to give up a touchdown when you have an explosive play. Can they minimize those explosive plays? If they can do that, they got a chance, because I think Drew Brown's going to be able to move the football. Toronto does give up yardage, but Ottawa's O-line will be challenged with this front of the Toronto Argonauts. They're really playing well at this time of year. So looking forward to both football games, and that's what I'll be in studio on Saturday and getting ready. We'll have a couple coaches' playbooks, but that's it. So I just tried this live thing. I don't even know if this worked, but I see some people leaving me some messages. So this will end up, it's live, but then it'll go up to the YouTube page so people can watch it. So this is kind of my first try with all this stuff. I do have some cool little stuff for you with all different things, different angles. I'm trying to get better at all this stuff. Okay, so look forward to seeing everybody on the weekend. Enjoy the football games and have a happy Halloween, everybody.